How many of you think melee weapons are for meme lords and have no place in first-person shooters? Show of hands, now! Yeah! Well, you're wrong!
Got one. He's one!
Today I'm going to cover some reasons people are overlooking the melee weapons. It's still early, the game isn't even out yet. 2 huge mistakes almost everyone is making when they use the sword. And the real reason for watching this video, a technique that makes the stick extremely deadly and really separates it from the other melees. The finals open beta ended last month and everyone is dying to know the full release date. When is it?
I don't fucking know!
Nobody does! Hopefully soon. In the meantime, if you're like me, you've been hungry for anything new about the game while we wait. I've seen a couple highlight videos here on the YouTubes, but people are mostly sharing their opinions on the game. Mainly, their thoughts on game balance and the meta. What's the best weapon for each class? Does one of them suck? It's 2023, and everyone with a keyboard is an armchair game dev now. I may do a separate video with my thoughts, as I also own a keyboard, and it came with a master's in game theory from DeVry University.
With DeVry, you're on your way up.
But today I want to talk about something that everyone seems to misunderstand. Of course, it's the melee weapons, specifically the stick.
Goddamn, Bernice.
No, not that stick. This stick. Don't you worry, we'll look at your stick later, Bethany.
It's a huge bitch.
Okay, mistake number 1. The biggest thing that makes you just another shitty sword guy.
You ever hear the phrase, don't bring a knife to a gunfight? I'm all about bring a knife to a gunfight, and here's why.
You don't stand there and swing like an idiot. I mean, really, nobody's gonna do that. Don't run it down in a straight line. I mean, everyone here's had teammates, so we know people do that. The point is, don't take any fair fights. I have to say it again because this is huge. Do not take any fair fights with a melee weapon. Honestly, it's the same for every weapon. You have a most effective range, a most effective scenario, and you play for that. I'm not saying be a coward and camp corners or just last tap kills and run away. That doesn't do any good in objective-based games. That would be the play in deathmatch, but that's why deathmatch games are dead. This game is multi-team coordinated chaos. Here's a scenario we all know. A medium character's healing ray, even though it does 0 damage, provides a ton of value to the team. A heavy with a healer can be a majorly distracting tank pair, so their third teammate has free reign to shoot uncontested. Notice the value is not isolated to the heavy being healed. The same concept works for the sword, kind of in reverse. And we already have a perfect example of how to best use the sword in a team-based shooter from another game. Tracer. To pilot Tracer to her full potential, you have to cross up the enemy team. What I mean by this is that you should never attack from the same angle as your teammates. You don't aim for the face, you aim for the back of the head. If they turn to face you, now they have their back to your whole team and your job is done. You don't even have to kill anybody. You just need to be a problem. So in short, the first mistake is trying to stick your stick down the barrel of a heavy shotgun. Don't do that. Flank. Harass. Create opportunities for your teammates to have free shots, and attack when they are giving you opportunities for easy assassinations. Clean up kills. But this only works when you are a major kill threat, and when you are alive. Are you thinking a sword player can't reliably close the gap? Are you thinking a sword should never win against a shotgun?
Are you wrong? Yeah. Of course you're wrong.
That brings us to mistake number 2. You need evasive dash. You have to have it. Let's look at our other options first. The grapple is great, it's easy to use, and there is a ton of verticality in every map in this game. There's a lot of opportunity for skill expression with the grapple too. It's similar to Pathfinder's grapple from Apex Legends, so you might already have some skill to cash in. But the grapple's cooldown is too damn high. Yes, you cannot get to a 5th story roof with evasive dash, but you can dash to the 3rd floor, and there are jump pads, zip lines everywhere. Also, buildings tend to get renovated and downsized pretty frequently, so that 5th story roof might not be 5 stories for very long.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Billy.
The cloaking device. It is not invisibility. I am so blind, yet I can see both you and Ronnie the Bear under your cloaks from a mile away. And it's gone as soon as you do anything. It's fun, but I don't know, maybe I underestimate how blind people are. But specifically, for the sword, it's not an option anyway. I can't wait for someone to make a video like mine showing how people are sleeping on the invisibility, but I don't see it yet. I can't wait. Alright, you absolutely have to close distance on your opponents. Invis is out. Dash gives you much more flexibility than grapple. I think the grapple can work, and I'd love to see it work really well, but it is very limited by the cooldown. You might see little difference between grapple and dash for a solo assassination, but when your fight gets extended for any reason, it feels really bad winding up that rope waiting to grapple again.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Having 3 charges of evasive dash allows you to adapt as a fight evolves. Using the stick without evasive dash is like using an incomplete weapon. Up close, snipers and shotguns actually do really similar damage in a lot of games. But why in the hell would you want to try to no-scope one bullet and take the huge reload time that comes with it when you can rapid fire 1,000 pellets over and over, right? There is always value in being able to load a ton of damage in a single safe shot. A sniper can peek from insane range for big, safe damage. Taking the stick without dash is like taking the sniper without the scope. It's like holding the blade with your feet. So, do you think that's it? Pick dash and flank? How many of you think you already knew everything in this video?
Show of hands? No! Damn it, you're wrong!
And that's because of this. What was that? That clip sucked. I thought it was a little weird, and my dumbass was having too much fun to think anymore until a couple days later. This is an insanely long-lasting hitbox. It's huge, too.
Sometimes they say huge.
Remember what I said about a sniper loading a lot of damage into a single safe shot? A lunge does twice the damage of a slash, 140, but it has a wind-up and cooldown animation. But when you combine it with the dash, you have this massive flying hitbox that you can wiggle around in any direction you want. Look at this! And you can do multiple dashes with your lunge and send this terrifying branch through a window, through your opponent, and out the other side of the building before they even know where you are. And that's not all. The best way to use this dash is to end your lunge right on top or right behind your opponent so the subsequent slashes come out sooner. Or, if it's a light, this actually one-shots. Thank you to Friend for the footage here. You can slap a melee to the end of the lunge, and that's 165 damage in an instant. This is how the sword should be used, a flying impaler. It's so much fun and so stressful for your opponents when played correctly. Players panic when your blade first penetrates them, and you can usually finish kills with slashes instead of dipping out for another drive-by. The best highlights you see for the stick and the knife will be multiple spines being sliced uncontested. Clips of players being slashed in the back may be a sign of unskilled opponents, but it is also a sign of a skilled sword lord. Let's take a look at the other melees now. First up, the knife. It may be the closest to the sword simply because it is also an option for the light class. It has a backstab mechanic that does 320 damage. Normal slashes do 50 compared to the sword's 70, and like the sword's lunge, you have to charge up the backstab. However, it takes significantly longer to charge the backstab. And all the knife's attacks are extremely short range. I didn't fully appreciate the sword's range until I tried out the knife. You have to backstab if you want to kill anybody. It one-shots lights and mediums, and one more slash is all you need to kill a heavy. It's important to note that if your team is helping, you basically one-shot the heavy, but a backstab plus melee will not one-shot a heavy. It's 5 damage short. I've seen plenty of complaints that the knife and cloak are way too strong and should be removed. After complaining about the misconception about the cloak, even I have called it invis way too many times in this video. I'm gonna call it cloak from now on. Again, maybe people need to adjust their graphics or something, but nobody is getting near me with the cloak. Even when I have the stick. Especially when I have the stick. I see that shimmer, and I know it's a free kill, because I know that shiny human is a light with a cloak, so it has a tiny health pool and no mobility. I dash, I slash. Fun options are awesome, but nobody is getting near me with the cloak. I'll get near them, meaning you'll have to sit totally still, in which case you might as well camp a corner or a doorway, in which case you might as well take dash to escape or close in on your second kill. The best use I've seen of the cloak is at long range. That pistol whipper or sniper up on the roof that pops his cloak to retreat when he can't fully get to cover, yeah, that's pretty good. So the cloak is fine, but I promise it is a poor choice for a melee weapon. The finals gives you a very limited field of view by default for some reason. I think people believe they aren't seen under their cloak, but actually they aren't even on their enemies' screens because they have no peripheral vision. Back to the knife. It's alright. It's incredibly high skill. A great player will dominate lower skilled lobbies that give up their backs. And I believe a great player can still be very successful in a high skilled lobby, and I can't wait to see someone show the community what would happen if Peter Parker had to escape the Matrix with nothing but a prison shank. But it won't be me. The knife's range is so extremely short that you'll be very, very lucky if you can string multiple left-click slashes together, and they are so slow that they aren't worth it. I wouldn't mind seeing a damage decrease paired with a big attack speed increase on the left-click slashes for the knife. This would strengthen its identity as a dexterous close-quarter weapon. Currently, you're much better off taking your one shot at a backstab and then running for your life preparing for your next drive-by.
Running for my life.
This is why dash is mandatory for the knife as well. With enough practice, you can end a 180 dash directly behind an enemy that is facing you for that demoralizing one shot. The real kicker for me is the backstab mechanic. I was expecting the back hitbox to be really forgiving, as most other things in this game seem to lean that way, but it's not. You get the shoulder, you get the kidney, you get 50 damage. To be clear, I do not think the knife is bad. The additional range and massive flying hitbox you get with the sword make it much more consistent. The two melee weapons for the light class fill the same role, but the sword is much more forgiving. If the knife feels better for you, it probably is better for you. So use it. Just give this sword dash tech a try first. The Sledge, aka Big Stick. I'm sure I'll cover Big Stick more in a future video. Really, I could not believe something was able to pull me away from the sword, other than the occasional tryharding with the single-fire hit-scan weapon, but I played about the same amount of games with the Big Stick as the Little Stick, because they are both just so much fun. I'm actually not fully decided on the Sledge yet, as I know there's a lot of potential here. The biggest drawback is not having the light class's mobility, so it's harder for you to choose your fights. But when you do fight, the Big Stick feels really good more often than it feels bad. You have 350 health, so you have plenty of time to swing, and you have the option of having a pocket healer. I was surprised that I felt really worthless with the mesh shield. Dome shield makes you really scary though. Don't forget you can take down buildings and make new doors anywhere instantly. That is incredibly valuable. The heavy's charge attack is useful, and the added destruction really fits the theme, but it's no replacement for the light's dash. Overall, people don't seem to agree on the balance of this game, but Embark have gotten a lot of things right with class identity. The light's strength is its mobility, while the heavy's strength is its power. The Big Stick right-click crushes skulls with a fat 200 damage. Squash that cloaked pistol boy like a bug.
You're gonna be squished like a little bug like that.
Here's where I'm conflicted though. The Sledge wielder gets this enormous HP pool and can take two of the best, if not the best, ranged weapons in the game. The RPG deletes lights, killing them entirely by accident sometimes. And the C4 wipes out whole teams from across the map. Don't forget, there are ranged weapons everywhere. However, despite the Sledge having good range and one-shotting light characters, Sledge v Sword is dead even, maybe even advantageous to the sword. This is how strong the dash is. I wouldn't get near a heavy until I discovered I could do this. Even though I messed up this last dash, this lunge hitbox lasts so long that it works out. Having the best range tools in the game are great, but they do come with a hefty cooldown. You really don't have access to them a lot of the time. Guarding a cash out somewhere like this does feel awful. You get 2 shots, then you get to be a stick-wielding doofus walking at someone with an assault rifle. Or do you? You have a sledgehammer. Break this shit down and defend this cash out in the basement. This game gives you options. Yeah, that's extra steps, it's not ideal, so I'm kind of torn on it. Does the utility bump it to A tier? Does the lack of mobility make it doo-doo F tier? Regardless, the Big Stick is fun as hell.
Jesus Christ, Bertha. God damn.
The Riot Shield. I actually haven't used it, so I can't speak too much about it. I know from experience on the other side that the Riot Shield has good defensive coverage. I wasn't tempted to try it myself because of the medium class's lack of mobility. The medium class really is the support class. They offer mobility for the whole team with the jump pad and the zipline. That's mobility that lights don't really need and that heavies really don't need. It's almost like the medium class is specifically designed to pocket a heavy carry and bolster the heavy's weaknesses. Every melee weapon's obvious weakness is the lack of range. Fortunately, this game gives you a ton of answers to this. Firstly, you will already find yourself fighting in close quarters more often than not. The light class has mobility options that can remove ranged privilege in an instant. The heavy has amazing ranged secondaries and about tree-fitty health. The medium has a shield. Not bad, but probably the worst of the three. A shield with a turret to do your dirty work, though? It's a little better. Even if the Riot Shield is bad, it could be a good option for a girlfriend-dedicated healer build or fun shenanigans. Has anyone tried putting C4 on their teammate's shield like we did in COD yet? Seriously, how the fuck can I not find a clip of this? It is awesome that Embark has put these fun options in the game for us. The more different they are, the harder they are for them to balance. We appreciate the effort. I'm not trying to argue that the sword is the best weapon here. It might not even be the best melee weapon. I just know that all the melees are currently misunderstood and undervalued, especially the sword.
You're just killing everyone.
Two things tell me that everyone is sleeping on this weapon. Firstly, after 50 hours in the beta, I only saw one other sword lord with a positive KD. It's a ton of fun, and nobody knows what they're doing yet. You'd think this is when the fun weapons would see the most use. Secondly, the theory crafters and number crunchers on YouTube are throwing more shade on the melee weapons than that huge Maul in Seoul. When the weather is sunny, I guess. So anyway, people like to make these things called tier lists. I've seen some really questionable ones and some really high quality ones that have had a lot of thought put into them. We even have one based on math. Cool. But I still have yet to see the almighty stick above B tier. First, a couple serious notes on these tier lists. All credit to people making the lists. It's really hard to make discrete judgments on weapons, items, whatever, in games with so many variables. And the people reading the lists often forget that they are generalizations. Something C tier may directly counter something from S tier, but maybe only under the correct circumstances. Just because a tool is low tier, it doesn't mean you can't have top tier performances with it. However, I think a lot of people miss the mark with their analyses when they consider things in a vacuum. Sometimes, this is even worse for those that do the hard work of running concrete numbers. It's like they picture two characters, weapons, whatever, in an empty testing range, throwing all their damage at each other in a straight line. Then they are enslaved to that observed result. For example, two characters can be amazing on the same team, but worthless if you have one without the other. So where do they get ranked? I don't know. Lists are hard. So that's enough tier talk. I'm trying to say, don't get tiered up when you see a weapon or a character that you think is good getting a bad grade in tier class. And don't underestimate something just because it's low tier. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped. I hope you give the stick another shot. As someone that has played at a high level in a competitive sword game and a hero shooter, I'd like to think my opinion has a little weight. Or you can tell me how wrong I am in the comments so I can upload clips of you dying to a humble stick. I'm looking forward to seeing other fun techs the community comes up with when the full game finally launches.
It's Pistol Boy. He's coming upstairs. Stairs behind you.
Oh, whoa!
Oh! That was kind of sick.
Yeah. That's kind of